Hi guys, Judas here and welcome to the build video. Today I'm bringing you my Magicka Nightblade PvP build for the Dragonhold patch and the upcoming Arrowstone patch as well. I'll start by looking at the character sheet and the stats and just I want to give a general introduction to the build video, to sort of the channel. If you want to skip past this, as always, timestamps will be down below. You can skip past it, go to the parts of the video that you want to watch. Timestamps below. Subscribers. Subscriber increase has just been huge. I've pulled in Stam DKs, I've pulled in Magicka Nightblade fans. I mean, moving from Stamina to Magicka for Openworld solo PvP, it's just been so refreshing. Like, for ages, I've wanted to get good gear. Stamina gear, I've got everything, but Magicka gear, I've had to grind out gear, grind up this character, but it's so refreshing to just jump onto a Magicka character, especially Magblade. You know, it's not perceived to be the best open world, and before anyone comments about, I could have higher stats there, I could do this, do what you want to do, alright? If you want to be a glass cannon duelist 1v1, this isn't 1v1, man, this is open world. This is the build that works for me for open world, this is what I'm bringing. I don't want to see any comments about max health, or I can get higher max mag, and you stood there as a glass cannon with 0 recoveries. Alright, it's coming from a Magicka Nightblade open world PvP perspective. That's where I'm talking from, that's where I'm bringing it from. That's what the channel and the builds are all about. I've tested everything on this build, and so far this is the one that I'm loving. This is the one that I'm getting better X on. You can see for that outnumbered gameplay, you want really, really solid regens. These regens, even without Trollking on, we've got Bloodspawn on in this, which I'm preferring. The damage is solid through the high max Magicka. Compared to Stamina classes built into weapon damage, Magicka Nightblade, bump up that Magicka, get your health and stamina to a comfortable position. I can dodge roll for days with this max stam. The character sheet's there, this is the build, this is what you get in, feel free to tweak it. But, these stats, these are really, really raw, well-rounded stats that when you learn the class, you can do a lot of damage with. One more thing I want to say in reference to the stats, the stamina, the health, the Magicka. The Magicka is going to give us that really, really high damage without sort of getting a loss. Sustain-wise, the Magicka sustain from having a big pool is just as good as the regens I've found, especially when you monitor it when you're in those fights. And coming from an outnumbered perspective, the stamina you need. With this 17k, I've got a good amount of health, but I've got the survivability through movement. You can't always just rely on shade. I can sprint on this build, I can block on this build, I can dodge roll on this build. It is so well-rounded and so balanced, I just love it. It's just open world perfection for Magicka Nightblade, in my opinion. So, let's get into the sets. Let's go through how I do this. So, the first set I want to talk about, Crafty Alpha Eeks. I run this sharpened. The reason why I run this sharpened is because, as you'll have seen on the character sheet, the max Magicka, the spell damage is very low. I don't feel like, I've not done the math on this, I probably could do with checking this, but I don't feel like neuroned increasing the damage of my weapon from 1335 will really, really pay that much overall in how my damage scales. So I prefer to go sharpened. Sharpened is really, really nice in terms of the damage that we get. We combine that with our weakness to elements and our damage and our penetration from CP and our back bar glyph, and the damage increase, the return that you get from this is amazing. Weapon damage on the front bar as well. I like shock damage. Shock damage is nice because you get that 8% minor vulnerability. I've run different setups. You can see where I've tried this infused. That is a good shout. By all means, if you've got infused, go for that as well. You can see, guys, look, I test everything, alright? This isn't just copy and paste, putting it out there. I test this thing. I push it to the max in open world. So, yeah. Weapon damage in this, sharpened, really, really liking this. You obviously all know the sets. New for me, I put this on and I'm just like, whoa, this is just like some Magicka hulking. And with the second set, it's just OP, man. I love it. So max mag, max mag, max mag, max mag, all good. So we'll talk about the back bar, alright? The back bar, we run Crushing Enchant on this. I really, really like the weave from the back bar. The animation is just so clean. We go powered for the heals. The healing on this build without Trollking, with Bloodspawn for resists, is absolutely insane. I love it. So this is what I go. You could potentially, because the max, you're not running shields, so you're not losing out on the max mag shields. By dropping max Magicka on this bar and only having it on your front damage bar, that is a possibility. And if you're struggling with sustain, you could easily throw in Maelstrom Resto. When you get a crit heal on your regen, you get 800 Magicka. The cooldown's not so great, 1 every 4 seconds. No, don't run this. This is old. VDSA. living the dream. But yeah, you know, you've got options. You've also got options for potinates. The only really sacrifice you would be making is that, let me just check this real quick. So if we check our skills, actually we'll buff up Magicka first. Okay, so we've got, you know, 2k heal comes off our max health, so that's not a problem right there. But you can see 24k health on the rapid regen, and if we were to change on the back bar, so maybe we drop crafty and we go, I don't know, potinates, you'll see that you know, that will drop off slightly, but that is not a deal breaker, so that is up to you. You know, that's straight away a flex spot that I'm throwing in for you. And if you're struggling with sustain, you can go Maelstrom. If you want more tankability, go there. But I just feel like right now it's working and it's balanced to have crafty on both bars. Bloodspawn, as I've said, I just love it. You know, the max stam pool that we get, as well as the stam regen on this build. You know, we can sprint, we can dodge roll, we can kite for days, as well as using shade. And then outnumbered, obviously, the damage mate. The resistances, and then the damage mate that provides. Like, it is just OP on stamina classes. I love it. Different setups, you know, you might need sort of Zan or other sort of proc sets, but you know, this for me is just so well rounded. I love it. And then Necro, obviously. Necro scales really well compared to Craft. Well, obviously we're using both together, but you've got the 3-piece Max Magicka, then you get the proc of this, so the 3k actually combines and scales and stacks a lot better. So yeah, really like it. Obviously all in pen. In terms of our prismatics, we go 1, 2 and 3. This is good because it just gets to that tasty 17k stam where you feel really safe, outnumbered. You know, in a 1v1 setup you wouldn't need that. But I don't want to learn. Maybe a more experienced player wouldn't need that, but I don't want to be put off by this build. You know, struggling on a sort of simple spot like stamina when you're getting CC'd on cooldown by people with vamp drain and javelin, and you know what the server's like. You know what ESO players are like. They're coming at you with sweat. So Max Magicka on the rest, and then Tri-Stats on the 3 big pieces, head, chest and legs. Then we make up the rest of the Necro, and it's just a bit of a mix here. You know, you can do what you want. Obviously I've gone Crafty on Necro, just spread it out with the pieces I've got to make it easier to get. And I go Mag Recovery, Spell Damage and Mag Recovery. Honestly, if you wanted more recovery, you could do that there. The 174 Spell Damage, even though it doesn't scale that much, you're not really losing out on much at all. So those are the sets. I've talked about the options that you've got. Yeah, I guess next we'll talk about skills and sort of tooltips together. Then I'll go through some of the other things the build offers as well. Okay, as stated, the burst damage on this build is just insane. Alright, so let's just go through some tooltips real quick, and then I'll talk around sort of the setup and the gameplay optimized for open world. So with our shade buffed up and our Magicka at 57k, you know, that's giving us really nice tooltips. We can see 22.5k. We've not got the weapon damage procced. We've not even done our spell power there. You know, on this class, you know, on this setup, Magicka is just damage. We'll talk about this in a moment. I'm just going through sort of base tooltips right now. You know, we're peaking 10k on a Swallow Soul with a 40% heal on the damage over 2 seconds. You know, this combined with all our other healing, you know, it's just great. Alright, it's solid. So, where were we? In the last, 19k on the Ice Comet. So, I'll quickly show you, you know, what people might be thinking, what can these stats be pushed to. I'll quickly show that real quick. So, I think we've got someone there. Yeah, I've got a skeleton guy there. So, we'll do it in stages, I guess. So, with our Magicka fully buffed up, and we can see we get the weapon damage proc. Lag. What am I doing? Okay, so we can see 23.5k. Did that drop? Yeah, 22k without that. So that's the first stage of increasing damage. Just through that, by doing it like that way, you can get some really high damage. And then the next thing I want to talk about, the reason why I want to show you the damage looking like that. Is because I want to show that you can be reliant on this, because in terms of your pots, alright, run both. You don't always, from an open world perspective, that you need to learn this, you don't always need the extra damage, the extra crit, the extra power from these. You know, if you've gone offensive and you die, you know, you're not doing anything anyway. So this is why I like the tripods as well. The tripods just, when you're under pressure through sustain, really help out, especially with the stamina department, especially with the health department as well. You know, you get sort of, not the heal, but you get the burst from the heal that you get. And if you're running TK, I'm running Bloodspawn, but if you're running TK, you know, you get that benefit as well. But yeah, just you can see it in the clips. Actively change in between these two because you don't always need maximum damage. If you were wondering sort of what the maximum damage looked like, I'll just buff up again. Okay, we go 25k on the Merciless. So you can imagine, you know, everything else is peaking. Swallow Soul over 10k. You know, really high meteor as well. So it's just, you know, it's just raw damage. The lag today is just is incredible. So it's really good raw damage. Those are the tooltips. Okay, so I'll talk around the moves and the choice of my move set. Obviously, you know, bow, you know, we're getting really good damage from this, but we're also getting the reduced damage mate. I can't make my mind up with this. Like, it's annoying how it changed. You know, this is good that you get the damage mate from it. So, you know, the raw damage mate is nice. Coupled with this, you get the minor protection. You know, these are good things that the class has that I really like. I just don't like the heal. You know, the spectral bow at cost, and heals for 50% of the damage if you're close within 7 meters. Alright, on this setup, we very rarely will be getting that, and I'll tell you the reason why. We've set this up for range. I've set it up for high max Magicka and for range pressure. There's nothing worse than, and this isn't the class, this is Zos nerfing ultimates with cast times. Like, I feel like a ballerina spinning around with this. In lag, the accuracy is just unreal. You can't cancel it now anyway, so I'd sooner much rather throw the meteor down and get the damage from the meteor, as well as get the Mage Guild passives. I'll quickly show these in Mage's Guild. So yeah, we get the 4% for slotting on the max Magicka, but then for both of the moves, we get the increased max Magicka by 2%, so another 4%. So in my opinion, it was really worth doing this. And then when I got used to having Ice Comet on the bar and playing aggressively from range, I instantly dropped Fear. There was no need to close the gap. You know, this hasn't got the same range as Swallow Soul. You do need to close the gap to an extent, but I love it. Alright, it's strong, especially if you go infused shock damage on this, the way I showed you before. You can proc like 6k crits on that shock damage, then you get that hard hitting amount hit from this, and then you get the light attack or heavy attack you've weaved with it as well, and you can cancel it. So instantly you've got a hard hitting stun. People might be thinking, oh, what about if people are blocking? So this is the general rule of thumb for me. If I see someone blocking, they're tanky anyway. So yeah, I can drop their block through Fear, but can I follow it up? Can I burst them? Can I do any more damage on that? No. Alright, if they're blocking, they're built to be tanky. I'd much rather do this. You can bait them with the meteor first. They'll tend to be less mobile targets, so sort of typical sort of, I don't know, Sword and Board DK or Necro, land the Ice Comet on them, force them to move, force the dodge roll, wait, they will need to buff up, they will need to react, so wait for that timing, and then just time the knockback from the Flame Clench with the Merciless, and you know, you're getting huge damage, you know, you're loving it. Talked about the purpose of Inner Light, Swallow Soul, our spammable, Elemental Drain, this coupled with the Crushing Enchant, and our damage, and our Sharpened, and our damage, our penetration from CP, you know, we're getting really strong damage. There wouldn't be any point putting anything else here. I feel like this is really good setup in terms of range abilities. So onto the back bar, siphoning is just amazing. When you're lowballing your stam, your Magicka, and you're sort of getting this return on your Magicka through a really low cost. I love rapid regen, crazy heal over time. You've seen like 26k tooltip on this over 5 seconds, coupled with our crit. You know, we're getting big heals. This is just a really good flat heal. 2k every second for 8 seconds, and minor protection while active. You know, loving this. And then obviously it's shade for our sort of kite ability, and we get the maim there as well. So I love this. And race against time, really nice for that crit damage and that speed. I was considering try and reduce cost on this, but I suppose we'll get into this now. I'm a Breton on this. I feel like Breton, where am I? Breton just offers so much. You get the max mag pool, you get the spell resist and the slight mag recovery, and then we get the reduced cost. You might even be worth off, I've not tested this, no, not going regens and just going a reduced cost or another infused reduced cost. It's hard to calculate that, but that's down to the nature of how often you'll be spamming these, and there is a lot of sort of spamming moves on the back bar where you'd be better off potentially lowering regens and upping the reduced cost a little bit more. One more move we need to talk about, Soul Siphon. Again, this is my grumble at Zos, catering to casuals with the ultimates. You know, Leap's even getting a hit next patch. You know, I love Stam DK, I love Leap, but that's getting hit. You're not cancelling things, you're not casting them instantly. Everything has just felt lackluster. Alright, I've tried Rest All, you know, you're twirling around like a ballerina, like cloaking yourself in something. And then damage spikes and desyncs. You know, this has been the most reliable for me. Activate it whenever we get Vitality, we get a crazy heal, and this stacks into our other healing as well. So it really makes us strong, makes it all-rounded. Sort of Alchemy, make sure you get this up. Really, really simple, just get it up. Obviously, you get the 30% longer on potions. It's just a quick grind, really. I still need to finish Assault and Support. Undaunted is key. Raw max stats, go for Undaunted. Sijic, you know, you only really need it for Race Against Time. Then you got Mage's Guild, Fighter's Guild. This guy used to be a Stamblade that I never really did anything with. That's the only reason why that's there. So yeah, those are pretty much the skills. You know, I'm not going to go through everything. You can work out sort of what you need and what you don't need. It's pretty much straightforward. You can see the 2H line from when this guy was a Stamblade. But like the passives that we get on a Magicka Nightblade, you know, they really just add in and allow things to be stacked so well. You know, we get the increased pressure from spell crit, critical damage bonus. This line I just love. You know, we get the try recoveries right there. We get the resistances, max health, which scales for our heal, our dark cloak. You know, it's just so strong. Alright, so those are pretty much the skills. In terms of the way I like to play this, obviously you want to be keeping away from your shade, you want to be kiting out, and you can play this at range so well. Bloodspawn is also good because Meteor, it does feel like a high cost ultimate, but I really dislike sort of closing in on your target, timing that fear, timing the Magicka version of Incap. I really don't like it. I much prefer playing it this way. You can see the stamp pool that we've got, you know, the speed that we've got. This is rolling and sprinting and dodge rolling and blocking, and you know, just look at it. Alright, it's staying full. It's just so strong open world, and we can choose whether to quickly flick across depending on the potion that we need for the desired outcome, whether we need to put up more damage just by a little bit or sustain through that try recovery. So yeah, I like playing the castaway. Really don't like the sort of the closing the gap range. You'll see that in my videos, like I need to undo that. I need to play like a Sork and play fully at range. But it's so strong overall. So in terms of your basic setup, you know, you want to make sure you've got all your buffs up, you're keeping buffed up all the time, watching that siphon attacks. So Merciless, even when you're on your back bar, you're kiting. These resto attacks, when there's no lag, they like glue to people, alright? They're just so easy, so accurate to line up, and you're proccing that Merciless. You know, the duration on the Merciless is long, so once you've got that up, you're laughing. You've got the burst ready to counter with, and you've also got the stacks increasing your damage mitigation. So you're loving it. Most combos, most people you can get with a heavy or light attack into a Swallow Soul, followed by a light attack cancel on the clench. Then you'll knock them up, then you can follow up with the Merciless, then you can just repeat the pressure on them. We really don't miss the damage at all that you would get, the multiplier from this. I believe connection and the animation on this, it just doesn't feel nice at all. You can be drawn in by the defile that you get and the extra damage bonus and the regen, but you know, this for me is a better all-round setup for kiting and for playing Magicka Nightblade. So yeah, the burst rotation, obviously then if you've got a tankier target, you can regen ult and get that ult up real fast. Then you can obviously throw in the Meteor, followed by the clench, followed by the Merciless, and those are really much your damage options. Because of your speed and sustain, if you're in a tricky situation, you can kite really well on this, and once you're kiting, you've obviously got the chance to just draw in the resto attacks. Sustain shouldn't be an issue, but you can really draw in attacks through this, and then you're biding your time, you're getting your ultimate ready, then you can drop the bomb. You know, you see that in the gameplay. The burst on this all together combined at once is just amazing. Survivability, talked about that. It's pretty easy to pick up, and that's just my take on Magicka Nightblade open world. You know, I'm liking it. It's good, it's effective, it's working. A couple of extra things that I just want to talk about. 64 points into Magicka. I do go the mage because I like the return. Obviously, on all my builds, I talk about this. Stack into and add into what you're stacking. Stackability is key. The way things scale. The food. All right. This sort of is not really a deal breaker. I think I initially. Sorry, my bad. I initially ran this just because of the health recovery, but I didn't like the return that you got from Troll King. But I keep it anyway, just because, you know, gold food's OP. I don't know if it compares any higher to the others. If you're struggling, just use Tri-Stat. But I like this. Talked about the ports, nothing else really to talk about. I suppose, yeah, we'll just wrap this up and go through CP. If you've made it this far, please drop a subscription to the channel. I'll load Stamplar content, Stamsock content, and StamDK content. And it's just nice to sort of see how things are working for you and get advice on the channel and just that general feedback and yeah, opening up classes that aren't necessarily, you know, I see Necros right now. I see lots of Necros. I see lots of Magplars. Magblade, I love it. You know, I was never going to not play this. It just took a while to get around to it, and I'm loving it. I forgot to mention, and don't worry, it's not a deal breaker. The build up to the video before, everything I showed you before, I'd not started using Vamp then. Since then, I've actually started using Vampirism, so this is like an update to sort of the video. Everything you've seen before, the stats, they were without Vampirism, so you can make the judgment on whether you want to include it or not. But we need to look at sort of what we gain and what we lose when we consider Vampirism. The moves aren't important. I wouldn't worry about any of the moves at all. But what I'd look at is this. Supernatural Recovery, you need to be in Vampirism stage 2 or higher to get this. And it's a really nice passive. 10% on Magicka and Stamina, not having anything slotted just by being a Vamp. The downside of stage 2 is that, well, the only downside is the health regen isn't a downside, because as I've said, I'm not running Troll King, so don't worry about the health regeneration. That's not a downside at all. 15% more damage from fire. So, you know, maybe if Match Decays are about more next patch, Zan, sort of any Inferno Destra moves, things like that, you know, you're going to take 15% more damage from. It's not like from magic damage, it's from the source that's fire. So I think that's a good trade-off, the 10% extra recoveries for the 15% more damage just from fire. You can make these stages go even higher. Something that I've not yet done, I've not finished it, but this passive is also really nice as well. So at the moment I'm getting, well, I need to be in Vamp stage 3, but when I do that I'll be getting 33% reduction in damage, and that scales up to 30% low based on my health. The next rank when I complete this, which obviously I will at some point, I'm just enjoying testing Vamp right now, you can get 33% raw damage mate, building up to 50%. So that is just really strong. And I think Vampirism stage 3, the only difference is it's like a little bit more fire damage, and then the full, you can't have any sort of health recovery cheese there. If you still wanted to cheese health regen, you can only go in stage 2. As it says there, with this passive at 8 unnatural resistance, you can go into stage 2 without having the negative effects on health recovery. So if you wanted to run Troll King and wanted to be a stage 2 vampire with extra regens for stamina and magicka, that's an option. If you wanted to run it and increase your resistances as well, and you're not running Troll King, you take it down to stage 3. So I'm going to be testing this, I'm going to be finishing this off, but so far, in terms of the change, it's been a really simple change that's pushed the build even further. So I'm liking this. Okay, so for our CP, high reduced reduced cost of break free, 21.18%. You know, you've talked about this before, just get it over the cusp. Everyone knows the Siphoner trick, you know, just 1 point in, it does the job. Bashing, outnumbered, you're going to be stopping reses. This is just 2 spare points that I feel are worth it here. And then we go the split. You don't need to push Arcanist very high. 13% gives us a nice return, and then the rest in stam recovery. If you're running Troll King, you can go health recovery, but I don't like that. This is a better setup for me. Tumbling, and this is what I mean about the way we play open world and the max stam we've got. We've got max stam for days to tumble with, to block with. I really love this setup. It makes it so balanced. Okay, onto this tree. You've seen the high heals that we get. This mainly comes from our blessed and the way other things stack. We get 19% on crit. The pen calculation, you need to total your pen through your, well, optimum pen would be this, totaled with the pen from your weakness to elements, plus your sharpened, plus your crusher enchant. And then by doing that, you get a really nice value. I think it's something like 18, maybe 20% optimum full, which works really well. And then we get our elemental expert, 13.1% there, just for that all-round extra added damage through our magic line. Master at Arms, we're throwing out eye burst damage, single target, got to be done for the 24% on there. Nothing in this one. Okay, the red tree, burst is what's going to take us down, so Ironclad works really well, ignoring that sort of direct damage mitt, in essence burst. Extra crit resist, 55. Okay, then we spread, we add light armor in just for the extra resistances. Thick-skinned, hardy 49, elemental, defender 37. This is optional. You can sort of play around with this. Dots really aren't doing much. Even outnumbered, dots still aren't doing much. That's why I keep this low. You could go lower. And then nothing there. So yeah, that really wraps up the CP, guys. As I say, gameplay video down below. The likes on that, you've smashed it. The views, comments, loving this. I hope this works out for you guys. I hope you're enjoying seeing me try different things and go away from stamina classes and try other classes. Drop your thoughts, comments below. Tell me what you think. Have a good one, guys. Judas out.